Paint is finally here, and I was smart enough this time to order ahead. I also got paint for the next project. The original Jaguar color is an opalescent silver blue. This is the closest I could find from my preferred paint supplier. And this is a secret for the next project. This Yosemite blue is originally a Mercedes color, and from what I could find, I matched up a lot of screenshots and references. It is the closest I could get to a match with what I had available. It came out just a bit darker than what I had envisioned, but I actually like it better. And as always, we start off with the hard to reach spots, parts that you'll overlook, and we also start off with light coats. As you probably heard me mention in my other videos, I have a very heavy finger and I tend to go very heavy on the paint. So I adjust my paintbrush so even though I'm going full blast on that trigger, it is putting out a very light coat. And here we are finally all done after 4 light coats. When I paint separate body pieces, I like to match them up just to make sure that they're visually at least close enough to being the same shade. I noticed when I built my Ferrari F50, it had about 7 different pieces. One of them got out of sync and it got painted one less coat than the rest of them, and it is very noticeable. So here again, if I have to make any adjustments, add another coat, I do it now before I do the clear. This is also the stage where I'd apply the decals because I like to seal them in under the clear. But this old kit didn't have any decals, so we're going to move straight on to the clear. And I know the cup on my airbrush holds 5 milliliters, so I'm going to mix up 5 milliliters. The instructions call for 3 parts clear to 1 part hardener. I adjust that a little bit. Here I'm adding 3 parts clear, which is 3 milliliters. And with a separate eyedropper, I'm going to add 1 part hardener, which is 1 milliliter. And I'm at my workbench behind me getting pliers because that lid is kind of seized on. And when I sit back down, you kind of got a glimpse of my long freaky hippie hair. Just ignore that. I need a haircut. And finally, I will add one part thinner. This is just hardware store grade medium duty lacquer thinner. And again, one part, so 1 milliliter. So we got 3 milliliters of clear, 1 milliliter of hardener, and then finally 1 milliliter of the thinner. So we got 5 milliliters all up to fill up our bowl. And that is enough to fill up the brush and most of the bowl, but still give me room to move it around without spilling it everywhere. Which I still do later, you'll see. And just like the paint, we start off on the easy to forget areas that we often overlook, then I'll just move up from there. I also like to point out that I'm usually also filling in decals whenever I do this. So what I like to do on that is I do a light coat and I move over it very quickly with the brush. That way it gets barely any clear on it. That tends to sort of prime the decal, so to speak, because if you lay on the clear very thick right off the bat, it'll kind of burn up the decal. And we don't want that. I'll even give you an example later on, because there was a little accident, and watch what it does to that styrofoam. If it goes on too thick right off the bat, it does the same thing to your decals. Right there, boom. Wasn't really sure, but I watched it back in slow-mo. From what I could tell, the stick that I had holding that part, it hit the table and somehow knocked everything out of my hand, and I spilled clear. You could watch it burn all the way through the styrofoam right there in front of that parts holder. It does the same thing to decals if you lay it on too thick. Now luckily I had just started applying the clear and I had just the front edge so far, so when this fell, there's no loss. I had to pick just a little bit of floor fuzz out of it and that was it. We were right back into action. I did have to mix up more clear though. And for some reason it did not want to go back onto that stick. It's burned all the way through the styrofoam now, and it's down onto the table. What I eventually started doing is I just taped that stick to the bottom of the bonnet, because it's not supposed to be clear anyway from what I could see. I should have just done this right from the start. This is the third and final coat of clear. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I didn't shake that up. I'm really tired at this point, so I just poured it in and started spraying, and it cost me a lot of work. It was right about here when I realized there was a problem, so I go back and I mix up the paint in the bowl. What had happened, from what I could tell, is unmixed clear, thinner, and hardener somehow didn't mix on its way out, and I just sputtered it all over the roof of the car. Here I had an option. I could either not build up clear over it to make sanding easier, or I could build up more clear over it, just so that I have more clear to sand away to correct it later. I opted to put more clear over it so I could hide it. It's clear anyway, so I just went with that. From this point, we just set this aside for 2 or 3 days to let it dry. This is what I was talking about earlier. You can see on the roof how uneven and nasty that is. It also got some of it on the cowl in front of the wiper blades. I'll show you how I fix that. First I dry sand it down as much as I can with the 4000 grit. For things like this, I like to do a dry sand first. The idea of wet sanding is to lubricate the sandpaper, which is what my goal is here right now. I want to get a lot of that knocked down as quickly as possible so I can start working my way up through the grits. I did a final polish with an 8000 grit, then I move on to the compounds. Let it be known that that is way too much. I could have polished the entire car twice with the amount that I just squirted out there. Shiny, shiny. Now you just watch me do the body. This is what all the other parts look like after I do a polish. Normally, I just thin out my clear so well that it self-levels and I don't have to do this. But I was not on my game when I sprayed this, so it required a bit of work afterwards. The last thing I'm going to do to the body, as far as body work goes, is I'm going to do the chrome trim. And a lot of people are going to kind of squint at me here because I'm going to do this with a Molotov chrome pin. I do not like bare metal foil. I have not had good luck with it in the past, and I understand that's probably all on me, user error. I just haven't had luck with it, so I don't use it. And with it all masked off, we can begin. I'm also going to do it all with the 1mm tip pin. I have the thicker one somewhere. I don't know where it is. So this is just going to take a while. If you follow me on Instagram, I had a message before I started this build that I was going to take a break because I was going to pack. We had put in a bid for a house, and we're still in that bidding war, so I got most of my stuff packed up thinking I wouldn't be doing any work. That's probably where that other pin is. That's totally fine though, this still works, it's just gonna take a bit longer. And I got almost all the way around the entire car, then that pin died. These Molotov chrome pins are amazing, they just do not last very long. So I took the pin apart and I scraped as much as I could out with the brush. So I'm just going to do the wipers and the door handles, then we're going to be done. My hands are a little shaky, still nervous over the whole house situation, so I figured I'd mask these off just to be on the safe side. If you made it this far, that means you've watched the entire video, and I thank you for that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check me out on Instagram for up-to-date photos.